Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back. Right before broadcast, people started sending me some messages. So we're going to get into why people are sending me messages first. And recently we covered the fake fraud Dr. Reed. And I predicted and said that the fake fraud doctor is going to be running around making the rounds with his fake hokey ass videos claiming that, he had an alien in his freezer. It's a big convoluted story. And right now, people are platforming this idiot who we proved here with facts and evidence is a complete and total fraud. He is not a doctor. His work history is fake. The doctors that he claimed did DNA analysis of samples of his fake alien are fake. One of the guys worked at a convenience store for minimum wage, a gas station near the fake Dr. Reed's home. And he is right now, friends, on this Dr. J Radio Live. And Dr. J is apparently an idiot. And I'm going to say that publicly. Dr. J, you are a stupid, stupid man. Because a Google search could instantly reveal that you're sitting there talking to a fake doctor, calling him doctor, just like dummy idiot Jimmy Church called him doctor through a whole interview. And this is the part of my job that I hate because, I can literally lead the horses to water, but I can't make them drink. And profiteering, huckstering idiots like Dr. J and Jimmy Church piss me off. It's well-established fact that this Dr. Reed is a fake, a fraud, and a liar. And we can prove that with facts and evidence. And we did prove that here with facts and with evidence. And while I understand it's not every other show host's responsibility to monitor my channel to see who's a fake and a fraud, it's so well established that this Dr. Reed is a fake and a fraud. Well, long before I established it as fact that he's a fake and a fraud, others did. And the fact that some of these weak-ass intellectual weakling show hosts just say, well, he might be fake, but people will tune in, so I'll just listen to him talk and I won't challenge him. And by the way, I believe that I have just been muted in this Dr. J's live chat. Way to search for the truth, Dr. J, you intellectual weakling coward who couldn't even have me making statements in his live chat. Is that what a weakling you are, Dr. J? Why don't you come here and we'll have a talk about freedom of speech, about how you don't, maybe we'll talk about how you don't platform idiots with fake hokey evidence that aren't real doctors. Why are you lying to your audience? Why are you letting someone sit there on your show lying to your audience like a dummy? Do you need the clicks and the views? Is that what it is? You got to get those clicks and the views in, even if it means hosting a fake fraud doctor that's not a real doctor, who lied about his education, who lied about everything. But we're supposed to sit here and believe that that guy encountered an alien in the woods that murdered his dog. By the way, Dr. J, did you even know that he lied even about his dog dying? And people talked to his neighbors around the time of his original hoax who all confirmed that the dog was alive and well years after he came out with his fake-ass hokey story, that you are now sitting there letting this man tell lies on your show. Congratulations, Dr. J. You are the dummy of the week. We're going to start something new here called the dummy of the week. And Dr. J wins this week because apparently this Dr. J is such a dummy. He doesn't know how to Google, right? And I get it. Some guest that's a fraud might slip by, but it's his job, right? It's his job to know that guy's a complete and total fraud. And I'm sorry, but I have no more patience left for these profiteering, huckstering idiots who will sit there and lie to their audience lie by omission. Yeah, let's bring on this guest. He had this tremendous alien encounter, and he'll tell us all about his alien bracelet that lets him vanish on live television. No, that's bullshit. Just like his fake doctor certificate is bullshit. All of it is bull. And, the fact that this guy is such a coward that he can't let someone make a statement in his live chat says everything you need to know about him and his show. Also, it's pretty curious that he has so many subscribers and so few watching, but I also found it interesting. I'm not going to share the video, but we are citing fair use. I'm just going to share a still here. It's also interesting that look who is allowed to chime in. So Dr. J mutes me in his live chat like a coward, right? But the third phase of Moon, hoax promoters extraordinaire, are completely and totally allowed to talk in his live chat. And it looks like the Cousins brothers, it looks like the Cousins brothers are looking for their next click and view injection, right? Let's get this clown on. Let's support this clown. But that doesn't surprise me. I mean, that doesn't surprise me one bit, given the Cousins brothers' history of actively promoting fake UFO videos themselves. So I'm not surprised that third phase of Moon is allowed to talk in this Dr. J's chat, but I'm not. And all I said was, why doesn't the host ask him about his education? His education is 100% provably fake. No, instead, this guy is going to sit there and call him doctor. Great job you're doing for your audience, bringing them fakery, fraudery, and bull. I don't know much about this Dr. J, but I don't like him already. I don't like anybody that censors or has to mute people in their live chat. I wasn't rude. I wasn't disrespectful. I made a factual statement in your live chat. Apparently, you're not allowed to tell the truth in Dr. J's live chat while he is interviewing fakers, fraudsters, and hoaxers. You're making money from a complete and total fraud, you dummy. Do you know you could lose your YouTube channel for that? It's called deceptive practices. It's against YouTube terms of service. Look it up, Dr. J. Muting me in the live chat is not going to help your situation. It's just going to make you look exactly like what you are. A profiteering slimeball huckster who doesn't care if a guest is a fake doctor, who doesn't care if a guest is lying through their teeth. But I will admit that maybe I'm wrong about Mr. Dr. J. Maybe he's a fake doctor too. That's why he's okay with fake doctors. Not familiar with this guy. Seen him around, don't care for him. And now I really don't care for him, given that apparently I am not allowed to make factually true statements in his live chat. Muted me for making factually correct statements in his live chat about the fraud guests that he is sitting there interviewing. No critical questions, no talk about, the fact that it can be easily proven that his education is fake, that his work history is fake, that his dog never died, that he claimed died. But I'm the bad guy here. I need to be muted for letting people in his audience know that. And I did say that this fake Dr. Reed is going to keep making the rounds now. He's back, friends, with new bullshit stories to go along with his old fake stories. And this is where we're at, and this is where we find ourselves. And again, it's a big club, and I ain't in it. Dr. J's not going to comment on this because what defense is there for platforming a complete and total fraud like a fake doctor who had a fake alien encounter? Come on, Dr. J. This is ridiculous. And the fact that you muted me put you on my map. So maybe we're going to cover you now, Dr. J. That's not attention that you want. You don't want me letting your audience know what it is that you're up to. So, maybe you should have let me just say my piece. I wasn't rude. I wasn't, copying the same message 100 times or anything. I should have the right to come into your live chat and let your audience know that the guest that you're hosting is lying to them, because you don't have the balls to ask him the hard questions. You don't have the balls to tell your audience the truth, because you're up to this slimy, no good game. Clicks and views. As long as it gets clicks and views, I don't care if it's true. I don't care if this guy sitting here lying through his teeth is a fake doctor. I'm just going to call him doctor and pretend that this is a true story so I can get those clicks and views. I'm sick of people like you, Dr. J. I'm sick of people like you. You are what enables idiots like this to pump the world full of fake fairy tale fraud stories that are not real. But congratulations, because you just made it on my radar, you dummy. All right, we're going to move on. And I predict an appearance on Third Phase of Moon soon. And we'll see what kind of a hatchet job those two do, trying to get clicks and views out of this fraud. And that's what it's about. Jimmy Church, hey, let's get some clicks and views out of this fraud. By the way, Jimmy Church, where is the part 2 that you promised your listeners? Is the part 2 on Jimmy Church's show going to be bringing me on to inform his audience that he led a complete and total fraud on his show, telling fairy tales for 2 hours in part 1? Is that what Jimmy Church's part 2 is going to be? That would be a real part 2, Jimmy Church. You're another goddamn intellectual weakling coward who cannot withstand debate with facts and evidence like we provide here. But this is where we're at, and this is where we find ourselves. And I'm sure Dr. J and Jimmy Church will make 10 times the money telling people that that story is true that I will make proving to everyone that that man is fake. His doctor, he's not a real doctor. His education is fake. His work history is fake. His dog dying is fake. His alien armbands is fake. His videos are fake. His paper mache dummy alien is fake. And, I got to be honest in that the bitterness with the fact that I get paid pennies to tell people the truth, these other people get paid 10 times what I get, what our show gets. And by the way, for me, it's not about personal payment. It's about the resources of the show. Somehow I'm supposed to compete with people that have absolutely no ethics, absolutely no more moral compass. I'm supposed to compete with those people on equal terms with a tenth or 1% of the income that they get. Our resources here are so slim, but I'm still supposed to compete on equal grounds with people that'll just platform garbage peddlers and get those clicks and views, right? Or with people like Third Phase who live off of clickbait garbage, right? But that's the way of the world. And I am learning, friends, again, that I have to just accept the things I can't change. I can't change the fact that 10 times more people will tune into a fantastical story about a man with an alien encounter with videos and so-called proof of his encounter. Then we'll tune in here to hear the truth behind the guy's hoax and how he created the hoax and how he faked the whole thing with his friends that worked at a gas station near him. I can't change it. So I'm not going to try to change it. And honestly, part of me has been racking my brain recently saying, what do I got to do to grow my show? Because we're at an impasse here. I can only go so far yelling and screaming at the top of my lungs about all these fraudsters, fakers, and fairy tale hucksters. And maybe we've gotten as far as we can, and maybe that's all I can ask for, and no more. Maybe I can't ask for as big a bullhorn as those people who are selling garbage, and I got to make my peace with that. Most of me already has, but it still bothers me to see that. It still bothers me. We covered this. We've been over this. This man is a fraud. Why are people platforming him? But it's no different. People platform garbage peddlers. People's whole channels are based on garbage peddlers, right? And that is not going to change. That will never change, because the garbage peddlers get the clicks and views, and that's what people are after. That's the name of the game. Just get the clicks and the views, and don't care about ethics or morality or doing the right thing. It does bother me, though, because I go, I'm in this cesspool with all of these slimeball show hosts like Dr. J, like Jimmy Church, like Goof on Rich, right? Like Third Phase of Moon. And I'm supposed to do the right thing always, right? We do try to do the right thing here. We try to tell the audience the truth. We never lie. We actually investigate the guests that we bring on here. We actually vet people's stories. We, in some cases, we have completely destroyed some people's stories because they were fake stories. But it does, it gets to me after a while. And by the way, I want to thank, here we have Lord Ludicrous with a kind and generous $4.99 super chat. Bravo, Stephen. Love the rant. I was shocked that Reed was on another podcast after being called doctor. Don't let up on these clowns. Keep calling them out. Well, thank you. I appreciate your support. Longtime show supporter, Lord Ludicrous. Here's $5 to go with the pennies. And by the way, I feel bad now. My bitching about the pennies is not, I'm not trying to solicit people or, beg for money here. We're doing fine. It's just that when I see the resources, I don't really care about the money for me. In other words, it's not like I take this money and I spend it on myself. Never. It's always on show things. It's like, let's get some new lighting. Let's get more and better cameras. We're about to upgrade the StreamYard software finally. And I decided that despite my real aversion, I cannot stand rent-to-own software that you'll never own, like Adobe Creative Suite. But the fact that we want to produce professional level quality work here might mean I might cave for that. So for me, it's about the resources that we're gathering for the show. And most of the money, if not all of it, goes right back into growing the show. We're trying to. I'm considering getting ads for the audio podcast and some other things. And this is all done with the resources of you kind and generous benefactors. So thank you, Dirty Mike, for your kindness, your generosity, and your support. It is much, much appreciated. And we love and appreciate all you people. And then we have Maria Mabro Genius with a kind and generous $3 super sticker. Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. It is much, much appreciated. So tonight, we have mysterious moon bases. Respect is the most important thing at the end of the day, and you have respect in the community. It would be nice if the real people got paid a little for our time. Yeah, I agree with you. And thank you for your kindness, right? It is marked. Yeah, it says it's a tough economy. It sure is. I am Mark D. Truth Seeker. I am out there looking for antique hand woodworking tools, things like saws and draw knives and wood chisels that they're getting increasingly harder to find. And while you can just go to Home Depot and buy those things, I prefer the good ones, the old antique ones, right? I get them on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist and I clean them up. But it is such a tough economy that, I used to never care. As long as it was within a half hour or even an hour drive, I would just go and get it if it was cheap. And now I find myself going, nope, I got a 10-minute rule. Cost of gas, $4 a gallon. I'm not going any further than 10 minutes from my house. But I am still collecting these things. But isn't it funny how the economy squeezing down on you can create this sort of, I have it in my brain now. Like, I'm not driving a half hour to go get some old saw. I'll just wait until one pops up that is 10 minutes from my house. But thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. It is a tough economy, right? Maybe that's why people are out there scamming. UFO John Doe with kind and generous $4.99. Good to see you back. Good to see you again. So support the man, peeps. Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. And Voltaire with kind and generous $1.99. Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. Maybe I should start bitching about the pennies more often, right? No, I really didn't do it for that, but thank you guys. I appreciate the outpouring of support. And now, you see, I feel better already. I feel better because there are people supporting us, and I should not get down on the whole situation. I'm never going to sell shit yourself tea. By the way, there was a funny Twitter thread about, Jimmy Church selling tea that makes you crap your pants for a week straight. Great product, Jimmy Church. Great marketing too. Get the tea. By the way, I had an audio podcast and the Midnight Hour, and who was it? The Fringe FM forced me to put the Get the Tea commercials in my show. And that was to pay for the distribution or whatever it is they were supposed to be doing for me. I don't know. I hated it. I was like, please, you could put any other commercials, just not this crap yourself for a week tea. Nope. Those are our advertisers. You got to put it in. I hated it. Jimmy Church, he's okay with you selling you some tea that will make you crap for a week straight. Not me. And somebody said drink the Kool-Aid on Twitter. I think Empress Cortana saying that she used to be a fade or not, and she hopes that people see Jimmy Church for the fraud and the con artist that he is, and I hope so too. And if I've had some part in that, then I've done good in the world, because that man should be expelled from everything. This man, Jimmy Church, has brought more frauds into this community than anyone. He has promoted more frauds than anyone. He has worked with more frauds than anyone. That's my opinion, and I'm entitled to it. And we have World in Chaos with a kind and generous $9.99 saying, thank you, Stephen. Well, thank you. I appreciate your kindness, generosity, and support. And by the way, I got a package to get out to you, World in Chaos. Thank you for your continued support of the show. It is much, much appreciated. So I thought tonight that we could talk about Skinwalker Ranch. Many people keep asking me to talk about Skinwalker Ranch. What do I think about it? Do I watch that show? By the way, no, I don't. I have a problem with Skinwalker Ranch. Oh, here we go. Dirty Mike with a kind and generous $5. I'll take unexciting truth over fantastic lies any day. Well, thank you. I'm here for people like Dirty Mike. Dirty Mike, that sounds real creepy, dude. Dirty Mike, do you know Dirty Mike? I once had a guitar player who had a creepy, we called him Skank. Great nickname, right? Hey, Skank. Thank you, Dirty Mike, for your kindness. So people have asked me many times about Skinwalker Ranch and do I think there's anything to it, and what I think of the television show and all of that. And we have really, I have avoided the situation because I'm going to be very honest here. I want to believe it. I want to believe in Skinwalker Ranch. I want to believe in a paranormal hotspot where you can see UFOs and aliens and interdimensional beings and werewolves and dino beavers and orbs and poltergeists. I want to believe that it's true. I really do. But the problem comes when we get to the part where you ask for evidence. Because what you'll notice about Skinwalker Ranch, and this is something that I have noticed an incredible amount of times, that whoever the current profiteering huckster is that is pushing stories of Skinwalker, they're always making money. Anybody who is telling fantastic stories about paranormal phenomenon at Skinwalker Ranch is making money. We have never seen, never, not once have we seen a truly independent party who was not profiting from the so-called Skinwalker Ranch, let's just call it legend or mythos. We have never seen a single individual that was not part of the money train that could tell us some fantastical stories of paranormal phenomenon they encountered there. No, everyone who is pushing these stories is directly connected to the Skinwalker Ranch gravy train, the money. Follow the money, and you will find that whoever is promoting Skinwalker Ranch as a paranormal hotspot, whether it be Bob Bigelow or George Knapp, Jeremy Corbell, and now this new crop of people. For those unaware, some time ago, because of lack of activity at the ranch, Bob Bigelow sold it to a real estate mogul. And since then, the current new owner has gotten television show deals, media appearances, and more, all while pushing the legends and the mythos of Skinwalker Ranch. And by the way, if you really look into the history of the term Skinwalker, it's an incredibly sad story. And it involves Native American children who were forced to deny their heritage, their language, weren't allowed outside. It's a long story. Someday I'll tell it. But getting back to whether I believe it, no, I don't believe anything out of Skinwalker Ranch. And there's a reason for that. Because after $22 million of taxpayer money wasted largely studying Skinwalker Ranch, and after how many seasons, if someone could let me know in the live chat, how many years or seasons has The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch been on television? Do we know that? How many seasons? I could look it up. So after $22 million of wasted taxpayer-funded research, after many seasons of The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, I'm going to put it in right now because I'm unaware. I tried to watch it with my neighbor once, and all right, we're up to season 3. So that's 3 seasons of a television show. And there's, I don't know, they're up to 11 episodes of season 3. We'll share that here. So after $22 million wasted, and after, here we are. After 3 seasons of a television show, I'd like to see the evidence, wouldn't you? And certainly, if you have enough equipment, magnetometers and Geiger counters and all kinds of scientific electronic equipment, I'm sure that you will find some anomalies. But what bothers me largely about Skinwalker Ranch is people like George Knapp have made millions of dollars. Let's be clear, George Knapp, 2 book deals, right? All about Skinwalker Ranch and the legend of Skinwalker Ranch. But when asked on the Joe Rogan show if there was evidence while he was telling fantastic stories, well, no, there's no evidence. Yet in his book, he claims that the book is based on years of collected evidence. But yet he doesn't give us any evidence. And pardon me if I don't believe the man who brought us the fake fraud, Bob Lazar, when he tells me fantastical fairy tale stories about paranormal activity at some ranch. I don't believe George Knapp. George Knapp is a profiteering huckster. He doesn't care if a story is true or not. He only cares if it will sell. And I got to be honest, part of me admires and respects George Knapp. I kind of, part of me wants to be like that. Like, who cares if the story is true? Make some money, right? People are stupid. Everybody will buy this book full of fairy tales. But I can't bring myself to do that to people, to like actively participate in what can only be called a great hoax of creating a legend around a old ranch in the middle of nowhere. And that's what it is. It's an old abandoned ranch in the middle of nowhere, friends. And, it's important that we realize, too, that since the beginning of this television show and Brandon Fugel's purchase of this property, there have been, I don't know how many cameras. They got a ton of high-definition cameras. And one might ask themselves, if there's all this paranormal activity, and they have all these HD cameras there, a film crew, all kinds of equipment and high-tech cameras, 24/7 surveillance of the entire area. Where is the videos of the dino beavers? Where is the videos of the werewolves or the aliens or the interdimensional beings or the UFOs or the orbs? What we get, it's a classic case of what I've been saying: overpromise, underdeliver. Everybody connected to Skinwalker overpromises, and inevitably we get them underdelivering. You've got 3 seasons of a television show. Where is this Dr. Travis Taylor's published scientific research on the paranormal phenomenon at the ranch? Is that still coming? He's got to get a few more seasons of the show in, get paid tens of thousands of more dollars before he can release the scientific data that they are supposedly collecting. I haven't seen it. And I will freely admit, I could be wrong. And I could be misinformed. But I did do a search for Dr. Travis Taylor academic papers. Not one paper on Skinwalker Ranch. And it also is important that we note that this Travis Taylor he's a spotlight hound, right? And somebody's asking, what the hell is a dino beaver? I would like to know myself, because apparently one of the big stories about the Skinwalker Ranch is that people witnessed a creature that was half dinosaur and half beaver that they called a dino beaver. And even though they went there with cameras to film paranormal activity, no one thought to pick up the camera and film the dino beaver. So we just get a story about a dino beaver. We don't get actual evidence. And, it's troubling that George Knapp would write in his book that the book was based on all this scientific evidence and then fail to provide any scientific evidence. To me, that's a bit of a red flag that this story might be bullshit. The second red flag that the story is probably bull is the fact that George Knapp is selling it. Kind of like he sold that convicted pimp fake scientist story, Bob Lazar, for 30 years. Yeah, the same guy who sold us a story that he claimed was from a scientist that turned out to be a convicted pimp fake scientist is bringing us these fantastical fairy tale stories of Skinwalker Ranch, right? I'm not buying it. I am not buying it. And if you're a taxpayer in the United States like me, you may want to call the government and ask what we got for our $22 million that they handed over to Bigelow to study his own ranch that he owned. If he owned the ranch and he wanted it scientifically studied, shouldn't he have put out that money instead of making us taxpayers? And Stephen Greenstreet has recently done some excellent work outlining some of the garbage peddling that took place with the Bigelow fiasco and Skinwalker Ranch. If you're not aware, Bigelow would call the ranch every week, and he was paying scientists to he was paying scientists to, I suppose, live there and study the paranormal phenomenon that was happening constantly there, even though we don't get one video, one picture, nothing. $22 million. I can't get one picture of a dino beaver. I can't get one picture of the werewolves everybody's talking about after $22 million. Where did the money go? Nobody knows. But it is interesting that Stephen Greenstreet revealed that people would just call facts. One member of the so-called research team, previous to the television show research team, I should specify, would get drunk and fax Bob Bigelow fantastical stories about all the paranormal phenomenon. Those people like their paycheck, like hanging out doing almost nothing at a ranch all day, I guess, wanted to keep those paychecks rolling in. So every week somebody would get drunk and send Bigelow some fantastical story about paranormal stuff happening at the ranch. Was there any proof of any of those fact stories? No. So I have a problem. Well, there's multiple problems. I have multiple problems with the story of Skinwalker Ranch. However, some of you may or may not be aware of this, but I am very interested in ancient American folklore and mythology and Native Americans and Native peoples' legends and stories. And so, of course, since that's sort of connected here, I originally loved the story. It was only after, and I got George Knapp's first book, right, and loved it. Great stories. They are great stories. But when you start to peel away the layers of deception used to sell the book, like this book is based on all of this scientific research that was compiled, and then curiously, he doesn't include any of the scientific proof or research. Then I start to question the motives of the people. And you will notice this. Everybody that talks about Skinwalker Ranch is somehow connected to the money. We've got the security guard who works there. We've got other members of the crew that are getting a TV show paycheck every week to be there. They talk about Skinwalker. I'm just not buying it. And Travis Taylor, where's the scientific research, right? I would think if he's such a great scientist, and then of course, remember that the gravy train, there are people who are constantly trying to get on the gravy train around paranormal activity. I mean, we see it everywhere, but they also are trying to get like Travis Taylor is getting a government paycheck to so-called study paranormal activity while he's getting a paycheck from the Skinwalker television show. He's also getting a paycheck. Now he has decided that he's important enough and he has incredible secret information never before shared about Skinwalker Ranch that you should pay him $75 to have lunch with him. That's the level of, I suppose, hero. There's also a level of hero worship associated with this thing. And I don't know. Me, I've been on television. I've never been impressed with anybody being on television, you know. Well, maybe that's not completely accurate, but mostly, you know, just because somebody's on television, I don't fanboy anybody just because they're on television, but some people do. And so recently at Phenomicon, I love that con is included in these conventions. And I know it's short for convention, but con, kind of like UFO con, alien con. It's truth in advertising, friends. It's a con. So recently, Dr. Travis Taylor has, and by the way, Travis Taylor is a spotlight hound. He loves being on television. He loves being the center of attention. He has another television show that he did. What was it, like Red Alert or something? where him and his redneck friends did stupid shit like build a submarine. Well, actually, I kind of like that show. I like the guy. I like Travis Taylor. Seems like a fun guy to hang out with. I'm into weird science stuff. So if I could hang out with Travis Taylor and like build rockets and explosions and submarines out of storage containers, I'd be all chips in. I'd hang out with Travis Taylor and do those things. The problem that I have with him comes from his promotion of what is essentially a myth or a legend that has no factual evidence behind it to back up the claims of all of the people running through. Shit, we ran out of UFO money. Now we got to run through and get all the Skinwalker Ranch money we can. And just say there's UFOs too. And we can get these stupid people that believe in UFOs to throw in some Skinwalker Ranch money, and we'll run through and collect all the Skinwalker Ranch money. Now he collected the redneck. I don't blame, look, if I can get a television show deal doing redneck shit out in the woods, I would too. And, but it's important to note that Travis Taylor wants to be a television star. He doesn't want to be a scientist. If he did, he would spend all his time doing science and he wouldn't be all over, television with multiple television show projects. That gives me pause about him. And by the way, just to be clear, I have nothing against the guy other than the fact that I think that he is profiting unfairly from what is essentially a legend. And that whole, I did see some of the early episodes of The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, and it was all staged reality show nonsense. Like they bring him in for this big meeting. He knew that he was going on a television show. Then they faked the whole thing like he's getting hired to be the scientist in charge of the investigation. Bullshit. He was a TV star already. They brought him in right out of central casting, in my opinion. So, but recently, Travis Taylor is at PhenomeCon. I think that's how you say that. And he is doing a talk. There was some interesting sound bites, like he threw shade on Bob Lazar, which I love. He said Bob Lazar was a janitor. We're going to go to some of Stephen Greenstreet's tweets because they're funny and they involve Travis Taylor. And here we go. Travis Taylor claims both he and Jay Stratton are infected with the Skinwalker hitchhiker. Have Taylor and Stratton informed Radiance Tech, their new employer, that they are both infected with a contagion that could cause paralysis, cancer, and even death? And, Stephen Greenstreet is throwing an awful lot of shade on Travis Taylor. And I noticed Travis Taylor has not responded to any of his criticisms. And one of them is very well placed. And we're going to put up our fair use banner. One second. I'm going to remind everybody that we are creating a transformative work here, and we're educating the public about the secret of Skinwalker Ranch and the profiteering people making tons of money off of it, like Travis Taylor. And we'll be critiquing the video that we are sharing. This is covered under fair use and is certainly allowable by law. Lawyer letters are standing by. So someone recently attended a $75 VIP luncheon. And for your $75, you got your choice of soup or salad and a main entree. They even had vegetarian options. I watched this whole thing. I feel like a loser when I watch this stuff like that. Like I spent hours of my life watching this entire VIP lunch. I was curious. What do you get for $75 besides a shitty, catered meal? And in full disclosure, I don't know if the meal was shitty. Nobody's commented on the food, but the stuff that Travis Taylor was saying is demonstrably false. Travis Taylor essentially got paid money to have lunch with a bunch of fans of The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, and then he told them fake stories during that lunch that they were paying money for. And to me, I'm sorry, Travis Taylor, you can come here and we'll have a respectful conversation about this, but To me, if you take $75 from people to have lunch with them and tell them stories, and then it turns out that most of the stories that you're telling are demonstrably fake, false information. Essentially, he took $75 from these people and then he lied to them for the $75. I consider that a form of fraud, but I'm no law enforcement official or anything like that. So, this is just my opinion. But would I take $75 to have lunch with somebody and then lie to them in exchange for the $75? No. And I think most ethical and moral people would not do that. So I instantly, up until these recent revelations, I didn't really have a problem with Travis Taylor. I like that redneck show. I have a cabin out in the woods and we do redneck shit, or we try, or I'd like to. But when I see him taking money to have lunch with people who are expecting true stories, I guess, about Skinwalker Ranch, and then he lies to them, I think that's majorly problematic. Now, we're going to sample a bunch of this lunch, but I think it's important to start with the stuff that Green Street, because he's the one, he pointed me into this story, and then I got hooked listening to this garbage luncheon. So there's real problem with one of the, here's Stephen Greenstreet's tweet. At a $75 per person VIP lunch. Oh, wait a minute. Let me make sure that I got the audio, friends. And again, this is fair use. We are educating the public about this. Yes, we did. Okay. At a $75 per person VIP lunch, Travis Taylor tells paying attendees that the reason Bob Bigelow sold Skinwalker Ranch in 2016 was because the Skinwalker hitchhiker phenomenon had killed Bigelow's wife. But the truth is, Bigelow's wife died in 2020. So, and by the way, that's one example. I found multiple examples of him maybe being a little fast and loose with the truth while he's getting paid. And again, I consider that a form of fraud.
Very well. And all that stuff is I've measured with scientific instruments in his house. It is freaky.
Why do we never get to see the measurements? He talks about this is scientific evidence. Things are being measured. Can we see the data? Why is the data not released? Oh, because this is a for-profit television show, and he doesn't care about science. He cares about the paycheck that he's getting.
I know Axelrod very well. And all that stuff is I've measured with scientific instruments in his house. It is freaky. We've had simultaneous events occur at his house, my house, and in a house in the Uinta Basin, all at once. So we've measured. I mean, within a microsecond, the events occurred, which that you think you can do that. And but the worst phenomena is there have been a couple of people who had the, I guess you call them orbs, whatever, in their house, and or wraith-like things in their house. Yeah. And well, the one of the neighbors of Axelrod had an orb fly through them, and they ended up with a very dangerous form of cancer from it. And I don't think I think she's still alive, but she's having to go through all sorts of chemo and radiation treatments like that to try and keep from that. Now Bigelow, reason he got rid of the place was he was convinced it killed his wife. And so I would call those pretty drastic hitchhiker phenomena.
Yeah, and this is extremely problematic, friends, because Bob Bigelow sold the ranch in 2016, and his wife did not die until 2020. So there we have at least one completely and totally factually false statement that Travis Taylor is telling people in exchange for $75. That's a problem. That means that you are giving people false information for their $75, Travis Taylor? And will you apologize? Maybe he got the dates wrong. Maybe he got his facts wrong. And it's interesting that George Knapp called out Travis Taylor, saying that he plays fast and loose when repeating Skinwalker with facts, when repeating Skinwalker stories. It's a real problem. And so we're going to sample. We're going to sample. We're going to take a sampling of what you get for $75 besides being lied to. And by the way, I wonder how some of these people feel about, would they feel like they were ripped off if they knew that they were lied to for their $75, or at the very least they were fed false information about Skinwalker Ranch, completely and totally demonstrably false information. 1 second here. And we also have a talk of his on the last day of Phenomenon here on this channel. And this is the channel of Eric Marquise. But again, we're going to cite fair use. This is a transformative work. We are educating the public about the so-called secret of Skinwalker Ranch and Travis Taylor, who's being paid to tell the story. All right, here we go. This is the VIP lunch with Dr. Travis Taylor. And it's in Utah, of all places. Great. All right, fair use, friends. We're going to educate the public about what you get for your $75 when you have lunch, a VIP lunch.
A million questions. And I'll answer any one of them I can. You know, keep in mind that if it's something happening right now, I can't talk about that. I'm sure if you've seen Thomas or Dragon or Eric or Caleb or any of the others, they've said this over and over. But, you know, we've got strict non-disclosures. We can't talk about what's going on if it hasn't aired yet. But other than that, I'll be happy to tell you anything I can, answer any questions as best I can. I will say that just to right off the start, and you guys probably been around this enough, you probably heard us say this. There are a lot of people that they'll watch the show and they'll think, you know, they're making all that up, because you know you've watched TV shows before. And I'm not going to name any like ghost hunters, and you'll think, okay, you know, they heard somebody did that on the wall over there. So they all, what was that? I'm not interested in chasing ghosts. I'm not interested in making TV for making TV's sake. I'm out here to hopefully find some answers to some things that don't make any sense.
So ghost hunters are fake, but somebody chasing werewolves, wraiths, orbs, and shadow people and dino beavers is not fake. You know, that's problematic for me. How can you throw shade on people that are investigating ghosts and haunted houses when you're investigating werewolves, wraiths, shadow people, orbs, UFOs, and all kinds of stuff? It's like, I'm not a wackadoo, but those people are wackadoo. Or we're not faking anything, but those people are.
My original motivation is to determine, you know, if there are a possibility of an extraterrestrial interaction, a technology or phenomena that we don't know about, and to figure out how to use that to our advantage, right? To better our lives, better our position in the world and in the universe. Because one of these days, Thanos is going to show up. And as far as I can tell right now, I have yet to see an Iron Man or a Hulk or a Thor or a Captain America show up to help us out. And so I certainly hope that it's someone that's here to offer us all sorts of great new things, but it also at the same time look at how the adventurers, the conquistadors, the folks who explored the New World how they left the New World, and if we happen to be that new frontier or New World, and they show up, whether they're friendly or even benign or benevolent or not, doesn't mean that what they leave behind isn't a big smoking, heaping pile of rubble and crap, right?
Yeah, so far I would want my money back. This man claims to be in possession of all kinds of scientific data, but instead he's going to talk about history and our place in the universe and largely speculative nonsense.
So why don't we? We'll just start. We'll go counterclockwise. We'll start over here, and we'll just walk down immediately. And if you have any, immediate questions, or we can do it random. I don't care which. You guys just throw a question at me, and we can go from there. Who's got a question? Somebody's got one. There's one. Right?
Yeah. So I was really curious to get a little bit more background, if you guys have any, I guess, further information about the in the most recent season of Skinwalker Ranch, the feedback in the control room, where you guys got that echo effect.
Yeah.
But then walked outside and could hear things. Did that go any further? Did you figure out what was causing that at all?
No. In fact, it's happened several times, and I don't know how much of this I should talk about because they may use some of it on a future episode.
Yeah, and hiding behind your NDA while you're getting paid $75 a pop to have lunch and talk to these people. Does that sound familiar? Hiding behind the NDA when you don't want to actually answer questions? Great.
Not, but they had told me that they're not, or that they are. But that's one of the most startling things that's happened to us, and it really freaks Thomas out because we've talked about it a lot. It was clear to us that somebody was eavesdropping on us with the technology that I can't quite understand yet, because we turned all of the electronics off. We even they won't ever show this on History Channel because History Channel won't break the fourth wall. Fourth wall is where there's cameramen and crew around. I don't know why, but that's just the History Channel policy. But we've stopped several times when stuff has happened to the crew, and in this particular instance, when what he's talking about, if you guys don't know, we were in the command center,
and Christ, what is this restaurant next to a freaking highway?
An airplane with a pilot. We were doing an experiment, and so it was myself and Thomas and I believe Dragon, maybe Caleb. There was three of us. I forget which three. And while we were, filming this experiment, we were doing the experiment in the middle of the experiment. I say filming. There's cameras running all the time. We're just doing the investigation. And they're just.
You hear that? There's cameras running all the time. Then why don't we have some video of the raids, the shadow people, the orbs?
So at any rate, we're talking, and I tune across on the spectrum analyzer to a particular frequency. If I see a signal there, it's not supposed to be there. And when I do, I hear my voice coming back at me. And then I hear Thomas and I guess it was Caleb. I think it was Caleb. Anyway, no, Caleb was out trying.
$75 a pop, B. Baker.
So we were like, no, wait a minute. Is that our microphones? We turned everything off. All the electronics, all the transmitters on the cameras, everything. And we could still hear it. And then we took turns walking outside, and we could still hear it wherever we went. In fact, they didn't make.
I might have paid for that too.
One of us went as far all the way out.
Honestly, I might have paid the $75
the river, which is 200 yards away, and we could still hear it just like they were sitting right there. It was coming through the spectrum analyzer, and they told us that there was a transmitter, an eavesdropping device.
Actually, Sweet Caroline, that is a cricket there with Travis Taylor, not me for once, but I did want to welcome Sweet Caroline, because B. Baker has told me that since the departure of a few of our other chat room monitors, we need more chat room monitors. So chat room moderators. So welcome, Sweet Caroline. You are now a chat room moderator. And also welcome, Amy Collins. You are now a chat room moderator. And if we need some more, we will be adding them. So B. Baker gets some additional assistance. And Valtaire, with a kind and generous $1.99, says, for the Dino Beaver Fund. That's right. I'm working on getting us a Dino Beaver animation so that we can compete on equal terms with Stephen Greenstreet. I don't think it's fair that Stephen Greenstreet has this big budget and he can pay people to create Dino Beaver animations, and I can just talk about the Dino Beavers and not show people what they look like in the animation of them. So thank you. That's going right into the Dino Beaver Animation Fund.
Somehow following us, either on our person or somehow in a remote location looking at us. And none of those technologies should be there. Well, we use bug sniffers and things like that. But unless it's inside our bodies, it's not there. And we've actually had this happen more than once.
And I would just submit to you, friends, that I think most scientists would agree with me that unexplained phenomenon is not automatically paranormal. And Travis Taylor seems to go straight to the paranormal.
And we actually filmed a scene. Maybe one day it'll make it, I don't know, where we made all the cameramen, we physically watched them turn everything off, and we filmed with a cell phone. And it was still happening. And this really startled us that there's a technology at play that, and we didn't, I think part of the reason we don't want to show the frequency that we've detected this, so that everybody won't go to that frequency and they can listen to us talking wherever we are, right?
And by the way, I just want to mention that I grew up using both CB radios and ham radios, and there could be a neighbor nearby with a ham radio or CB radio, a very powerful one, that can affect electronic equipment. It could be the most mundane, stupid explanation for this so-called phenomenon that he keeps saying has to be paranormal. And I, for one, can't believe that a scientist goes straight to paranormal without really what appears to be any investigation. He's just, couldn't be anything but the Skinwalker phenomenon causing this electronic interference. It could be 100 things, Travis Taylor.
It comes and goes, though. It's not always there. And the frequency changes, which is weird. I have no idea why. So that's pretty scary. My first thoughts was, okay, it's Russians or Chinese, right? But why? Well, Skinwalker Ranch was a hot spot all the way back to the ALSAP and ATIP programs in the late.
And see how misinformed he is? He's on a television show and he doesn't know that ATIP wasn't a program. He must not be up to speed on his fellow fraudsters. Well, I don't want to say he's a fraudster, but certainly Elizondo lied to the American public, lied to the New York Times, and everybody claiming that ATIP was a program. No, it wasn't. And ATIP never did any. Show me some paperwork, Travis Taylor, of ATIP investigating Skinwalker Ranch. Show me the paperwork. There is none, because they didn't, near as I can tell.
Late 90s, early 2000s. And so they probably had some counter-espionage activity going on. But that's not a technology that I know of that they should have, anybody should have on this planet. So what the hell is it, right? No, I don't know. It's really freaky, a little bit scary, and it's and we realize that there is no private conversations anywhere on the ranch.
And I'd like to submit that this man is a scientist. He is not an expert on surveillance technologies. And like I said, it could be 100 things causing the interference and the so-called surveillance of them. It could be adversaries, spies. It could be electronic countermeasures. It could be ham radio operator, CB radio operator, pirate radio station nearby. It could be literally anything. Electromagnetic interference. It could be many, many things. And he just goes straight to the paranormal.
You think it's leftover Bigelow technology?
So let me talk about leftover Bigelow technology.
Dr. Taylor, one moment. We have an announcement here.
Oh, we got an announcement.
We're going to be, she'll be taking your drink order. It is a set item.
Yeah, the menu is a set 4-course item, so it comes out with a stewed tuna, French onion soup, a Wagyu steak, and then the steak comes with mashed potatoes, fries.
Wow, you get a piece of steak, a piece of tuna, 4-course meal you get. Great. And the rest of this is the waitress explaining the menu. So we're going to skip that and get right to part 2 where he answers some more questions. Yeah. 1 second, friends. I'm going to once again share my screen, citing fair use. This is a transformative work. We are educating the public about what you get for $75 besides seared tuna. Yes. Part 3. How did we skip to part 3? 1 second, friends. Part 1 of 3. Part 3 of 5. This is not very organized. Oh, part 2. Okay, we'll go to that. 1 second, friends. Let me share my screen here as we continue our journey into a behind-the-scenes look at what you get for your $75.
Yep, we are. Thank you.
So keep in mind that the Bigelow era research was done late 90s, early 2000s, and the technology change between now and then is extremely dramatic. Look at the advent of cell phone technology, right? I mean, this right here has 2 cameras on it that are far superior than anything Bigelow even could have imagined, right? The cameras they had were terrible. They had a few, and they were very expensive back then. And the things they did were unusual. Bigelow, what we've seemed to uncover is he was more interested in the ooga booga and the woo woo stuff than actually the technology advancement that might be there. Although he did tell Jay Stratton, the director of, and Dr. McCaskey, the directors of ATF, that if they wanted to see a UFO, that they needed to go to Skinwalker Ranch, and that's how come the Pentagon got interested in it. But when we got there, I say we, as the ubiquitous Brandon Fugel's team, Eric and Thomas and Dragon got there. They were there 2 years before I joined the team. What they discovered were very antiquated systems, very rudimentary systems, and weird things like they had aquariums on poles with Ouija boards in them. and one of the aquariums actually had like little spelling blocks.
That's great. This is what you get for your $75. Unverified stories of aquariums with Ouija boards in them and spelling blocks. And we do want to thank Anthony Peterson for the kind and generous $2 super chat. We want to welcome UFO John Doe as a new chat room monitor and I'm moderator. And I'm trying to find one other person here who's been with the show for quite some time. There we go. Lord Ludicrous is now a chat room moderator as well. And we can talk off air about, what you guys know. If somebody's getting crazy in the live chat, we don't allow any ad hominem attacks or personal attacks or attacks based on religion or sexual orientation or any of that stuff or race, but we want to keep free speech rolling here. Always keep that in mind. And let's return to this.
Like a kid thinking that, whatever's going on, they were going to leave them a message in the spelling blocks, or it was just weird stuff like this. And while Eric Davis, the the scientist, I guess I would say Eric's counterpart to the Bigelow era, was he's a sharp guy. He says that they had very inexpensive equipment and that they mostly had to grow their own, and that Bigelow was very frugal and wouldn't give them any money to buy stuff, and that they made do with what they had.
Isn't that interesting? So a man who was given $22 million for free by the United States government was very frugal, and he wouldn't let the people investigating the ranch for him buy things.
Some night vision stuff, and at the time, which was very rudimentary compared to what we have now. And so, no, whatever is happening now is not something that Bigelow left behind. In fact, we found everything that they left behind. And in fact, Eric has brought some of it online just so we can compare and show how rudimentary. I mean, it's like an old black and white TV compared to a big flat screen.
And isn't it interesting that Bigelow wasted $22 million of taxpayer money and then just left all the equipment in the ranch when he sold it? Doesn't that mean that equipment belongs to the taxpayers?
That's how different the technology is. I'm not saying they didn't see some interesting things, but they didn't have RF spectrum analyzers like we have. They didn't have the radiation detectors. In fact,
you're right. You're probably correct.
They never even thought to look at the microwaves when things happen. And so they had no idea that there was a microwave signal that was accompanying a lot of the phenomena.
No, that's B. Baker's job.
We have found, which is almost like clockwork. They didn't have geophones to measure seismic activity. They certainly didn't have ground penetrating radar and things like that. They literally they had people walk on the field, looking for stuff. They dug holes at random. They did weird, stuff. Now, and I'm not like dogging them. I'm saying they did the best with what they had, the budget they had, and the equipment available at the time. The equipment we have available now is so much cheaper, so much more advanced, so much easier and readily available. Except for such a stupid logistics chain problem with microchips and stuff. But other than that, I'm amazed Bigelow found anything.
Yeah.
But no, whatever this is, it's something else. It's somebody eavesdropping on us with state-of-the-art something that we don't know exists, which I doubt, or it's something else, and I don't know what that is. Yeah, go ahead.
Is there anything that you learned as chief scientist of the UAP task force about how the government views and analyzes this data that surprised you, or was that your entire role, is to gather the data and interpret it?
Yeah, so the leader of the guy who started all this and made it happen, Jay Stratton, Jay's name and John's first name. But Jay started this with the Office of Navy Intelligence and with the DIA back in the late 90s. As he worked through the ONI ranks, he ended up being by the early 2000s, mid 2000s, he was the equivalent civilian rank of a 2-star admiral. And
yes, and cited in George Knapp's books as well.
He was running the program hoping to find a nuts and bolts craft. What happened was someone came to him with the 2004 Nimitz data and said that, somebody should be looking in this. And it was his job, actually. His actual job was threats to our airspace, with the Navy, threats to naval airspace, the naval test ranges. So he started looking into it, and he was like, holy crap, they've actually got ATFLIR footage of objects. They've actually got, radar data of objects. And, excuse me. And so he started putting a team together, and Lou Elizondo, so it was really interesting. He and Lou kind of leapfrogged each other and who was running it and who wasn't. And Lou was never officially, this is the way they do it in the Navy. And so when you see all this like Green Street and the idiots like that, they're trying to debunk everything. When they say, well, he was never, we've looked in his position description, never says he was the leader of some UFO investigation. It was other duties as assigned.
Yeah.
And there was never any extra budget put there for him to go do it, but it was a task that was given to him. Like when I was the chief scientist.
There is no evidence or proof that any task involving UFOs was ever assigned or given to Luis Elizondo. And I love how he goes after the debunkers. He's probably not going to like me, are you, Travis Taylor? Because I care about facts and evidence. And the facts in evidence are that Luis Elizondo was never assigned any responsibilities with UFOs. Never. And show me some paperwork that says other duties is assigned. You can't. So again, he is lying to these people who paid $75 to have lunch with him. And, you know, for me, I don't know how these people live with themselves. Like, what did he do after this? Like, you know, I made a couple $1,000s just to have lunch with these stupid people, and I lied to them real good. I'm proud of myself.
I was a civil servant with the Army, and Jay called my boss, it was his equivalent, actually 1 star lower than Jay, but, and he said, "Hey, I want Travis to come work for me on this task force. Would you mind loaning him to me for a while?" And they said, "Why do you want Travis?" Funny, Jay and I talked about this because it was a big compliment to me, and I didn't even know him at the time. My boss asked him, "So why do you need Travis?" And Jay said, "Because Travis knows how to build shit." That's exactly what he told him. And my boss laughed apparently, but Jay, then I went up and I briefed Jay on some things that were happening at the ranch, and he said, "Yeah, come in and be my chief scientist." There's never on paper anywhere in my position description that I was the chief scientist. But when we went to the White House and to the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, Jay, a 2-star admiral equivalent, introduced me to the White House chief scientist as the chief scientist of the UAPTF. And as far as I was concerned, that was good. And he told me to put it in my signature block, right? So and I was the equivalent of a full bird colonel as a civilian. And so when a 2-star tells a colonel and puts something in their signature block, they do it, right?
Yeah.
And so it's all, what they're doing is they're using semantics to try and debunk things. I don't even know why they need to debunk that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
just trying to discredit things for no reason, which suggests that there's an imperative behind the discrediting and the debunking. And in fact, we actually saw that in the task force. There was a group within the government that they told us several times, "It's demons and angels, y'all need to stay away from it." And
yeah, and we've heard that story many times, but no one will put on record who said that. And this is a story that rolls around that there was people within the government that didn't want UFOs studied because they were demons and they wanted people to stay away from it. And isn't it interesting that one person who is a profiteer off of the paranormal world, but has never produced any actual proof or evidence, to my knowledge, is backing up another person in the form of Luis Elizondo, who is on the UFO gravy train profiteer network. They all work together. They all back up each other's bullshit. That's how this works.
they literally tried to steer us away and steer funding away from us to keep us from looking into it. It was really odd. I know I had it was the same odd thing. But what I did with the task force, so when I went in, Jason, we got all this data. And the problem is every piece of data is from a sensor on a different military piece of equipment that has a different classification. And you can't put something that's this classification on a computer that's got this other classification.
And here comes the explanation for why we never get the data. Isn't that convenient? We never get the data. These people talk about these. Oh, we had so much data. Where is it? Where's the data? Can I FOIA the data? Oh, it's classified. Sorry.
And so we couldn't take something, say, from an F-35 and an F-18 and put them on the same computer to do analysis on it. Or from a Navy radar and from a FAA system and put them all. There was no way to put all that in one system. And it took us a year just to figure out how to store the things we were getting. And that was the hardest part. But and here's the thing. While the National Defense Authorization Act of 2019, 2020, 2021, and then 2022 did put in funding for the UAP task force, it never. So the way it works is a committee or a subcommittee will put in language for the money, but the money then the language then has to go through the Senate Appropriations Committee, and the Appropriations Committee are the ones that actually writes the check. And
Well, that part is true.
it never came out of the Appropriations Committee, and there was never any funding put on the UAP task force. We did all of it on our own time, basically as other duties as assigned, and it was a lot of work. And I still had, my day job stuff I had to do as well. And then COVID hit, so we couldn't travel. We had to do everything through a system. It's called a Tandberg. It's basically a classified video conference system. It's basically like Teams or Zoom, but for classified. And one of the things when we finished the first year was we were figuring out how to handle the classified stuff and what needed to be classified and what didn't. And Jay's first priority was, look, we don't want to classify things just to classify them. People will have a right to know what they have a right to know. And what we need to classify is anything that would give away a threat to us or give away an advantage of ours. Basically, ways and means is what we call it, or methods and means, and technologies. Like we couldn't, if a F-22 video
I know it's kind of boring, right?
It's
Caroline.
We certainly couldn't show that this
NDA is classified.
Because then the Russians and the Chinese would know that we had a sensor that would do X, Y, Z. So there's a lot of that. That's the main reason things being classified when it comes to the UFO stuff. In this regard,
Blame it on the demons.
Now, I will say that one of the things we kind of run into was, what if there was a group that wasn't telling us everything?
Yeah.
The National Defense Authorization Act of 2020 had a clause in it that said they had to tell us, or it's a felony if they didn't tell us. If we came and asked them, you don't have to tell us your super secret program, but you got to tell us that it's you doing
Yeah,
something.
he's got nothing. So
And
far, we've heard nothing. Come on, man. We paid.
And we reported.
What if we paid $75 for this?
and
Come
then
on,
the
man.
really
Get with the
interesting thing,
secrets.
is
There are
we
none.
heard in some back channel conversations, some folks say, well, we would have told you if it was us or not. And wait a minute, but it'd be a felony. and I'm not going to talk about who those people are because there's things.
Anthony Peterson wants a PowerPoint.
So there is no Men in
That's
Black.
probably 150.
Oh, and when the UAPX guys say that they came and got the radar tapes off the ship of the Nimitz and all that, Jay called. They had 2 NCIS guys in the fleet, because there's always 2 NCIS guys when they do a thing. You know what Navy NCIS is?
I bet you
it's like a TV
is.
show about it. There's 50 of them, right? There's NCIS LA, NCIS, Hawaii, whatever. But it's basically it's like the FBI of the Navy. Well,
Me too.
There's 2 officers. There's one always on duty when they do all these fleet things like this. So Jay had the authority. He called them and said, "Hey, go make sure that that there wasn't some Men in Black that did this." It turned out
Blame
the
the Men in
admiral of the
Black.
fleet had these 2 NCIS guys who were wearing just jumpsuits, blue jumpsuits, which is what we wore off duty on the ship. They went around and everything that took data of these, they gathered it up and took it to the admiral of the thing, put it in their main observation room so that all their experts could come in there and look at it. And then nobody really did anything with it. They were told to ignore it from the Pentagon, so they just shoved it in a drawer. No Men in Black came and took the stuff, but every time
Where is
NSA tells the story, oh yeah, Men in Black came and took the took the data from it. No, Kevin, he wasn't even wearing black; he was wearing blue. We know for a fact. We've gone back and found the history. What happened to that? And
Where's
we've
the radar
never
tapes?
found
Where's
it.
the
Me
data?
and Jay begged. We
never
put out
get it.
bait. We're like, come on, bring it on, Men in Black. We see who you are. If there is such a group, I don't think they're within the government. I think they're within private
Thanks, my
organizations
flock.
that is beyond FOIA. It's beyond the government
too.
reach, and they're probably multi-billion-dollar corporations or multi-billion-dollar folks who are pretty much untouchable, as you've seen in the last
That's correct.
few years. That the billionaires can pretty much do whatever the hell they want.
Could it be a contractor of the government?
Well, so if they're on contract to the government, anything related to that contract is FOIA-able.
Oh, okay.
But if they do it on their own internal research and development funds, the own company's funds, those are
Yeah, I
private
think
funds,
so.
and the government has no say on what can or cannot they can do with those funds, and they don't have to tell the government what to do with
Yes,
those funds.
you can.
I mean, that'd be a violation
Right
of their
click.
constitutional rights, which doesn't mean they wouldn't do it.
What if Bigelow was trying to fool you guys? You just left all that crappy stuff there.
Well, I will say that Bigelow has not come completely clean with us and has not showed us the complete final report or the results. And while I was UAP Task Force Chief Scientist, I had access to all that. And there's no final report. The only final report is very science fiction-y stuff written by Eric Davis. And I asked Jay
agree.
about it. And so this was before my time. So this was back in the early 2000s. So what happened? Senator Inouye, another one, and then Harry Reid.
That's Stevens.
Stevens, yeah. They did a plus up of $20 million and led a contract to Bigelow Aerospace to investigate the UFO phenomenon. And by the way, this is about the time that Jay realized that he couldn't keep going to Congress and talk about UFOs. And if they did, he'd never get to the meetings with the staffers. So he changed it to unidentified aerial phenomena then, just so he could be getting into the meetings with the staffers. And so it wasn't anything weird about it. It was simply a clever sort of ploy being the wrong word, but a clever
Word manipulation.
word manipulation that Jay used to get past the moat dragons of politics. And
So there you have it. That's interesting. So they started using the term UAP just to avoid the stigma of UFOs and get more funding. So when people wonder why suddenly the government started calling UFOs UAPs, it was so that they could be slick, use word manipulation, and get more funding. Great.
it worked well, even though none of us like UAP. Don't even like it. We all like UFO. But it does cover a bigger gamut of things, though, right?
Yeah. So, friends, this goes on and on for another 2 hours. At least you've got a very nice long, and by the way, we are citing fair use in sharing these videos. At least you got a nice long lunch for your $75. And in other areas of the video, I was able to see that there was about 25 people seated in tables around Travis Taylor. So that would mean for one lunch, he got something like $1,875. Now, I'm not sure what his take was, if that all went to the conference organizers and he was just paid a set fee to be both a speaker and to sit here at this stupid lunch. I don't know how the money situation worked, but somebody made $2,000 to have people have this lunch. By the way, just want to mention that Ron from Cosmic Neighbors, I also made him a moderator as well, even though he aggravated the hell out of me with 3D printers for months. Yeah, I blame him for all of my 3D printer problems. And by the way, Ron, I'll be taking that to the cabin. Maybe not this weekend because I've got a full load of materials, but maybe the following weekend. I don't know. Yeah. So is it worth $75? I guess. If you're a huge fan of Travis Taylor, maybe it's worth the $75. I saw a few people in the live chat saying that they would maybe have paid the $75. I am going to, we're going to create a poll. Would you pay $75 for a lunch to hear this stuff? Yeah, and we are going to post that poll in the live, and you, my friends, can let me know, would you pay $75 to hear this stuff? I don't think it was worth it. But to be very honest with you, if this was near my house and I could just drive there and just go to the lunch, I might have paid $75. But then I would have been drilling this guy with questions that he wouldn't want to answer. So essentially, I would pay $75 to make him very uncomfortable for the 2 hours or whatever. Get as many really tough, hard questions, all the questions centered around sort of fan questions and nothing too deep, right? Yes, Mystery Eon, you can. Now, let me find you here. I have to go to the real live chat to do that. And by the way, do me a favor and send me that model again, because I want to try to print that maybe tonight. I haven't printed anything with that 3D printer for quite some time, and I would like to do that. And so we'll add you as a moderator. So now we're really loaded up on moderators, but I want to warn everybody. The last time we had a whole bunch of moderators, what happened is that the moderators got in fights with each other and started timing each other out and all this drama. And I don't want to see that. So the rules for the moderators are that you cannot time out, mute, or kick any other moderator except B. Baker. B. Baker is the head chat room moderator. He has that ability. If somebody is going to act a fool, he'll take care of it. Yes. So there's some other show business that I should discuss before we wrap things up. I do believe that we read every super chat already. It's a good time, though, for me to remind everyone that one of the best ways that you could support us is by throwing money at us. And tonight we had many kind and generous people from all over the world threw some money at us. And I want to thank Sweet Caroline for a kind and generous $12.99 through PayPal, who says, let me see what the message says. We will see. It says, every penny counts, man. Yes, it does. Thank you, Sweet Caroline, for your kindness, generosity, and support of the show. For those unaware, you can send a super chat. We read every single one of them right on air. If you send a super chat, if you buy a super sticker, we thank you for that purchase of the super sticker. You can also send money through PayPal or Cash App, and instructions to do that are in the description of the video. I'm a terrible salesperson, and honestly, I depend on the just the kindness and generosity of people. We don't like asking for the support here, but we appreciate each and every one of you. So we read, if you send a PayPal donation or a Cash App, include a message and your chat room user ID. It's very important because a lot of times I get PayPals with people's real names and they don't really want me reading their real name. Include your chat room user ID, any message you want to send. You can also join our Patreon. That's $1 a month, and you get a bunch of extra content and extra goodies, and you get a preview. You get to see the production videos before they're uploaded. We do a monthly show journal. You get my music unreleased so far towards an album I'm creating. When the album is finished, Patreon supporters get all that for free. And you can become a channel member as well here on YouTube. That's $5, but you get all the Patreon goodies and some extra YouTube goodies, channel member badges, priority reply, in the live chat and in the comments, and more. And I also do want to remind everybody, if you can send a super chat while we're broadcasting live. But if the show has ended, there's a thanks button. You can send a super thank, and you can send us money even if you're watching the replay. I have seen that starting to really increase, and I want to thank each and every one of you sending super thanks for our work here. It is much, much appreciated. And we want to thank Amy WC for kindness, generosity, and support. We appreciate your kindness, your generosity, and your support. Reekin Havoc says, can we do a poll to see if people will allow nudity for call-ins? No, YouTube does not allow nudity for call-ins. We can't have naked people here. If it was up to me, I'd let people, but the problem is that sometimes when we do those open panel shows, I look down and I see a cock. I don't want to look down and see somebody's junk. Like literally somebody got a webcam and shot their balls and their cock. And that was what they were going to appear on the show, as a cock and balls. Obviously, that's against the YouTube terms of service. We can't have people doing that. So no nudity is one of the oh, and we have some other PayPal kind and generous pledges. Cynical Observer sent a kind and generous $8 PayPal pledge and says, "This is Cynical Observer. Thanks for giving us the truth. Praise the cash." Yes, praise the cash, friends. We're going to praise the cash tonight because tonight was a good night for support of the show. And we also have another kind and generous person. We have a message from John with a kind and generous $5 PayPal pledge. Says, "I don't know if it was just me, but Triple Grace 555 has stopped posting their apocalyptic videos with just a few responses from me pointing out the error in their prophecy." Well, thank you, John. Most people who claim to be prophets are actually false prophets. So there's no surprise to me that a false prophet would not like you pointing out the error in their prophecies, right? And we want to thank Mikey and again Sweet Caroline for PayPal pledges yesterday with $1.90 and $10. Thank you very much, all of you guys. The kindness and generosity and support of our community is amazing. Yes, that is Spooky's official title here is now going forward Lord God Emperor. I just assumed that since you were the producer, you're the show producer, helping with the graphics and the video production at times. By the way, where's the clips, man? We did a good one tonight, actually. We should clip the beginning of the show about this Dr. T platforming this dummy, fake Dr. Jonathan Reed, Spooky. And I'm going to have to give Spooky a super chat fund because Spooky occasionally sends money to make sure that I see something because I'm half blind, and that's not fair to Spooky. Spooky, once again, with $2. God Emperor Kari demands your super chats. Yes, and we want to make sure that we thank each and every one of you with your kind and generous support of the show. It's what makes the show go round. And we thank each and every one of you for helping us to praise the cash, friends. And Trixie's here to thank you as well for your kindness, your generosity, and your... Even though we were doing a workout podcast. And by the way, several people have asked me in emails, and I am a lazy slob. I talked about hitting almost 100 days sobriety. That was 99 days. That was almost 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago now. And I said I was going to start this 75 hard program, but I have not done so yet. I've been putting it off. I've been procrastinating. I'm going to start it. And I welcome all of you to do it with me. You can look it up. It's called 75 Hard. It's 75 days, no alcohol, a very good diet, and no cheat meals. You have to exercise twice a day for 45 minutes. Once can be inside, the other time has to be outside, regardless of the weather, and drink a gallon of water a day and read 10 minutes or 10 pages of a nonfiction book every day. It's the 75 Hard Challenge. I thought that would help me continue down the straight and narrow path of sobriety. I think I'm over 110 days now and feeling quite good about that. It was a good decision, and the drying out has done me extremely well. It hasn't been good, however, for the people who like to hear me yell and scream and get angry. Because while I was drinking every day, I was short of temper, much shorter of temper. And now I have a little bit more patience, and I don't just pop off as much. So if you're one of those fans that like to see me scream and yell all the time, my sobriety may be somewhat disappointing to you, but it's really for the best. I have a greater bit of emotional awareness, and I don't go from zero to pissed off and screaming right away. It takes a lot, right? It takes a lot. Sweet Caroline says, proud of you, Stephen. Thank you. I appreciate it. And Anthony Peterson, congrats, Stephen. Thank you. And one of the things is that I've been so busy, I haven't been going to AA meetings, and I really do have to. I do have to return to that. I think that it was beneficial to go every day and be reminded of the dangers of alcohol in my life. I have not been going. In fact, I have yet. They give you those chips, coins, I haven't gotten a 90-day coin, and I want mine. I think I earned that coin. I've been carrying the 60-day and 30-day one in my wallet as a reminder. Another alcoholic once told me that if you put that under your tongue and it melts, you're allowed to have a drink. Otherwise, you're not. And it's metal, so it's kind of a AA joke, right? And I think that I got to find the time. It's just, I think I have been very busy with children and the cabin. By the way, the cabin was kicking my butt. It really was kicking. For those unaware, I'm building this cabin in the middle of the woods, and well, not really compared to the next project I'm planning, but more on that later. And thank you, Anthony. So I'm building this cabin, and I built an awful lot of things at the cabin out of stone that we collected from the land that we purchased. It's in the mountains. When I first bought that place, there were stones everywhere. Everywhere you stepped, you would step on a stone right on the surface, and you could just pick it up and move it. And so I collected up all the stone, cleared pathways and walkways and a driveway and all of that stuff. And I used the stone to create a stone floor in the living room. The whole floor is stone, natural stone. And then I built a wood stove hearth. For those unaware, you build this platform that the wood stove sits on, all made out of stone. And then the backsplash behind the wood stove to protect the logs is all made out of stone. Then I used more stone to create stone pillars and another wood stove hearth for the wood stove in the new room, the sunroom. And I also built an entire stone shower stall. The whole shower stall is just made out of natural stone. And by this point, the amount of stones on the property, which was once there were stones everywhere, but that stone shower is like 10 feet high or 9 feet high and wide, and the stone floor was 12 by 24. We used a ton, literally more than a ton, probably 2 tons of stone I have picked off the property and used. But the last thing that I really need the stones for is to build a porch patio out of stone, like the floor in the living room, all made out of natural stone. I got 2/3 of it done, and then I started really having a problem collecting stone. It would appear that we are running on empty. Now, I'm told by my neighbor that in a year or two, after a bunch of rain and, snow and melting snow, more stones will become visible and easily pickable off of the property. But since we have used so much of it, there is very little left. And so what ended up happening, I'm going to share my screen here. The last little bit of stone that I needed to collect for this patio took me forever, all day and I had to dig for a lot of these. So there's the last third of the stones at the cabin to finish the porch patio. And after this, I have to build a roof on the porch that goes across the whole front of the cabin. The porch, when finished, will be 10 by 36. But this last bit of stone, you can ask Spooky. I was bitching about it all day. Spooky was messaging me about the show or something, and I was like, I gotta collect rocks all day to find more stone. And now we're in a situation where there's nothing on the ground that you could just pick up. So now I had to find stone that were partially sticking up and dig them out with a shovel and pull them out and hose them off and all this. So this cabin is killing me all day to collect the stones, but I was determined to finish, and I didn't. I finished collecting them. Now I have to cement the last third of the stones in, and then the porch patio at least will be completed. Also, kind person, I got a free fire pit that you could see in the distance in this photo here. A metal fire pit that will go on the porch so that even if it's raining, I can still sit on the porch and have a campfire. I love that. But the cabin's been killing me. I'm glad. After this, I'm done collecting rocks for a while. I spent days and days of my life just walking around the land, picking up stones and carrying them back. And that's the other problem. The stone, as the stone supply dwindled, I have to go further and further in the woods looking for them and digging for them and all this. So thank God I'm done collecting stones. I have the cement. It's actually type S mortar, but whatever. I have the mortar mix, the cement to go in between the stones. I'll be doing that hopefully Friday night. I want to get it done. So I think I'm going to drive to the cabin on Friday after my wife gets home. I'll be there just after dark, but I've got work lights and I'm going to get this porch patio finished. So I guess I've just been too busy to do many of the things that I need to do. I also did join a gym and I haven't been there yet. So I'm paying for, like many people, I'm paying for a gym I haven't even gone to yet. Every day I say I'm going to go and then I procrastinate until tomorrow. I need better sneakers. I need, sweatpants, whatever. But all my excuses are gone. And tonight, it's open 24 hours. So tonight, it's only 11 p.m. I'm going to go. And I'm going to do an hour on a treadmill or something. I really have to start focusing on exercise because some of you know I'm up to, I think 14 pounds I have lost since 110 days of no drinking and a better diet. I'm eating very, very healthy. But I think that I hit a plateau and the scale's not moving. So now I need to add a lot of exercise and I haven't. I don't mean to, but I have when I'm not at the cabin doing crazy things like carrying 100-pound rocks back to the cabin from, a few blocks into the woods. During the week, I'm very sedentary. I'm very comfortable in front of a computer doing computer stuff and video editing and making music in front of a computer. So I'm sitting. I don't move near enough, and I'm going to try to change that. When I was younger, I got much more exercise. Spooky is asking, Stephen, when are you talking about the super secret new project? I want to wait until all of that is finalized. There's only one person aware of the super secret project besides me, and that's you, Spooky. So if you let the cat out of the bag, I'm going to be kind of pissed at you because things in my life have a tendency to get jinxed if you put the cart before the horse. Is that a right way to say it? I want to make sure that all the things that we talked about is done. Like legally, everything is done and we have everything in place before talking about that publicly. But I will say that we are planning some big changes going forward. This show will remain the same, but we have some new fun things in the works. Sweet Caroline says, I would also like to know about the new super secret project. Well, I can say that it involves the woods and maybe stuff like that. Yeah. Spooky says, I've told nobody. Good. I told you those things in trust and confidence. So, but everything looks good. I have been planning a major new project for quite some time, but this would require, and by the way, one of the reasons that I'm finally think that I'm going to get to go forward with this big major new project is because I've been sober, because it took a lot to make this new project work or get all the pieces in place to make it work. But I've been able to do that with a little more focus that I have and not being hungover for half the day. So I'm very, very thankful for that. My flock is everywhere. I'm so happy for you. Congratulations. You are flocking based. I'm getting that a lot now, right? And Sweet Caroline says, Stephen, you're putting in all the work. We really are rooting for you. Thank you. But I want to caution everybody in that I have not decided that I'm going to just not drink forever. And I hope that if I go back to occasional drinking or whatever I decide to do, I won't feel like I'm letting you down or anybody down. You know, haven't decided, but I can certainly see what an incredible benefit being sober all the time has been. So I'm a little hesitant to even going back to occasional drinking because my worry is that I would then proceed to back to daily drinking. And I certainly don't want to end up back to the levels of alcohol consumption that I was at before. I think I learned my lesson, though. I think I really did. And I don't know. It's a really tough situation because, you know, part of me thinks I learned my lesson. I will never drink every day now, but you don't know that. And that can be a very deceptive demon, alcohol could be, and make you think you could to get you back, right, in its grasp. And then things don't go well once you do, right? And Sweet Caroline says, do what's best for you. Yeah, that's what I'm going to plan on doing. Cosmic Neighbors, bro, if you want to relax, just go 3D printing something. Stay away from aggravating things. Oh, I'm going to fucking murder this. Oh, Cosmic Neighbors, it's all your fault. Mysterious Moon Basis says, Steven, don't do it. Yeah, well, that's another thing. I don't want people to feel like, oh, he let us down if I do, you know, drink again. Had I got the damn surgery she wanted for me, we would not have had a secret to begin with. I'm not sure what that's about. All substances make you think that way. Yeah, maybe, you know. But I am excited about this new project, and I really have some things on my plate that I have to finish. For those unaware, I'm a very ADD kind of a person. I just can't focus on things sometimes. And I always, my whole life, I've had many different projects going at once, you know, a lot of balls in the air. And but I have improved somewhat with being able to focus on finishing things before starting new things. I used to start things all the time while this wasn't finished. And I've learned it's best to finish, especially major projects. I have to finish one major project completely before proceeding to another major project of my life, which will require a great deal of my focus. So my focus for the winter is to completely and totally finish that cabin, all of it. I have a ceiling to put up in the bathroom. The bathroom needs a little bit of finishing work on the walls. I have some wiring to do for the 12-volt system. For those unaware, my cabin is wired for both, or will be. It's wired, house wiring, 120, and it's also wired for 12 volts for the solar system. You use a hell of a lot less power on a solar system if you have 12-volt lights, for example, 12-volt appliances. We don't really have 12-volt appliances, but anyway, the cabin's going to be wired for 12-volt, and it's not completely, the 120 wiring is done, but the 12-volt, I have some of the 12-volt lights up in the finished rooms, and I have to still do the lights, the 12-volt lights in the bathroom and the sunroom and a few other places, you know, a few other 12-volt things to worry about. And I have to finish the porch patio and the porch. Then I will do a celebration stream from the cabin once it's all finished, because that will have ended up being, I didn't anticipate it being this long, but that will have ended up being a 5-year project. Now, in my defense, there have been times when the winters were so bad that I could not get my vehicle from the main road to the cabin, so I just didn't go for months during some of the winters. And then there was other periods where I would get very busy and I would not go to the cabin every weekend. I would go maybe once a month. And so the progress at the cabin has jumped around. Sometimes I was going every week. During COVID, I got a ton of things done because my wife was working from home, so I could leave on Wednesday or Thursday instead of Friday. get a couple extra work days in there. And my wife has been very supportive of the cabin. She knows that it was a dream of mine to build it, and so she's been incredibly supportive. And her and I really did it together. I supplied the labor, and she supplied a lot of the funds, because some of that gets expensive fast. In any case, that thing took me 5 years, but I was determined. Like, I'm going to build this thing. It's been in my heart as a dream to build this. It's been in my imagination for years to build it before I did. And once I pulled the trigger on it, I mean, things went really, really slow at times. Or there was no progress for 4 months there, very little, but I kept just pecking away at it, little by little by little by little, and slow and steady wins the race. Sometimes, and the other thing I learned is progress really is the key to happiness. I have been happiest these last 5 years when I was at the cabin making a lot of progress, or coming back from the cabin having just made a lot of progress, And some of you have followed the journey of building this cabin since I started. This was no small task. I'm one man by myself, and when I'm finished this winter, it'll be a 900 square foot cabin, and every inch of it built by my own hands. That's a pretty amazing accomplishment for a guy who never built anything. I've lived in a city. You paint your walls or something, but I never built a house, and it's a great thing, right? So my focus in the wintertime is going to be to my focus in the wintertime is going to be to finish that cabin. Now, I may decide later to build one more room out the back. We could really use a bedroom, but I want to finish. What we got now is 3 rooms, a big sunroom, a kitchen, 4 rooms. There's a living room, there's a kitchen room that also doubles as a sleeping area, a bathroom, and the sunroom. And there will be the porch. I want to finish all of that so that I will have freed my mental and physical energy and all my focus for this new big project that's going to be maybe another 5-year project. Who knows? But I have another dream in my heart that is going to occupy my time for quite some time, and I'm good with that. Mysterious Moonbasis says, my wife just said he looks like the guy from The Matrix. Yeah, I get that. And the bad guy from Grandma's Boy and Kylo Ren, Adam Driver. That's what I get. And Marilyn Manson. Yes. What would Stephen do if society crumbled in the winter? How would he get to the cabin with family? Everyone should pitch in for a plow attachment for his vehicle. Funny you should mention that, Mark D. Truthseeker, but I am going to be saving up for a 4-wheel drive vehicle, and that's related to the new big project. So my next wish of the universe is that I have to manifest somehow into my life a 4-wheel drive vehicle. Did you visualize as it is 5 years ago? Yes and no, Amy Collins, because of the way that I I originally thought I was going to build it all out of just Home Depot stuff. But as soon as I did that, as soon as I realized how much I preferred natural materials like logs and stone, I said, I'm going to build this whole rest of this thing. So the first portion is built with pine boards and things. It's very nice, but and that's natural materials. But, I got very interested in building everything out of what's here. So in other words, I didn't go to Home Depot for most of it. I went into the forest. I need a beam, go find a down tree. I need stone to make a floor out of, go in the woods and pull back stones. And because it's so much natural materials, I visualized it as more of a standard log cabin with the logs and the notches. That's how I originally envisioned it. And it wasn't until I started on the cabin that I realized and was told by people who have built big log cabins the traditional way that one man by himself cannot build a big log cabin with the notches and the logs going horizontally, because you got to get them, 8 feet up, and they could weigh 700 pounds, one log or whatever. So I opted for what's called cordwood masonry, where one man alone could build a big log cabin by himself. So there was some changes along the way. No, I guess I didn't I visualized it more like a traditional log cabin. But I am okay with the changes that I was forced to make for practical reasons. And actually, Amy Collins, I think it's much more beautiful than I imagined. Like, it really is. From the road, it looks beautiful. All those logs and log faces and timber frame in the sunroom with the real trees as big beams. It looks like the Flintstones, these huge trees holding up the roof, tree beams, but beams. I think it came out much more beautiful than I ever imagined. And that was partially due to that slow nature of the way that I did it. But anyway, long story short, I have to finish that cabin. And there are some other little things, some little finishing work around the cabin that I'm going to be working on and things like that, because in the winter, I can't be working outside on anything. So I'm trying to save up some inside work for myself. Right? King James says, dropped an enormous log this morning. Not those kind of logs. Space Exposure says, that's a pretty impressive feat all by yourself. Oh, I should mention that one person did help me. I want to thank my neighbor, Matt, who I met when I bought the cabin. He has this real, beautiful house across the street, across the dirt road, I guess, in the middle of the woods. He's probably the only guy in that community that has like a really big, beautiful, real house. Everybody else has like trailers or little dumpy cottages or little cabins. And Matt does construction for a living. So there was some things that Matt came over and helped me with, most notably the ceilings, or excuse me, the roofs. The roofs on the 2 additions he helped me do because I wanted them to be right. Remember, I got my kids inside this place, and I didn't want to do it all janky, not knowing what I was doing, and then the roof fall in on the kids or my wife, God forbid. So I did enlist the help of him, and he was very kind and generous with his time. And really, that cabin wouldn't be there if not for him too, because every time the other thing is, every time I got stuck on something, he would come over and look at it and tell me what to do. And I would just do what he said. And it worked out. So my plan became, if you get stuck, just ask Matt what to do next. Because there were times where I didn't know what to do. Like, this is a problem. Like, we had a tree in the way of the one room, and there was a big boulder in the way. And he did come over with his bobcat and help me spread gravel for the one room. He's been an awesome help. So that cabin wouldn't be there if not for him as well. Retreat conference at Stephen cabin. Let's go. Well, I got to tell you, that may be more possible next year, and we'll know why when we unveil the secret project we'll be working on. Yes. Horse Lover Fat says, I haven't heard anyone say janky since high school. I kind of meant junky and bad. I don't know if that's what janky means. I think so. Janky. Yeah. UFO John Doe says, made one out of popsicle sticks for 6th, 7th grade project. Yeah. B. Baker asks, did I do a root cellar? No, but I am going to. That's on my list too, but that's another thing I can't do in the winter. That's a spring, summer, fall project, but it is on my list, right? Please don't invite Travis. No, it's Horse Lover Fat. No, he has a girlfriend that has, they're married. They're not technically married, but he has a live-in girlfriend who had 2 of his children. they're going to get married eventually. Yeah, he's very married. Sorry. You'd love him, though, V. I know you would, actually. He's a real manly man. Like, he builds shit all day, all night. And he also, V, is the hardest working man I've ever met. Like, this dude gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Before the sun is up, he's in his truck going to work. And then sometimes he comes back at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon and makes me feel lazy, because then he'll like cut wood and split firewood for 5 hours after he works for 8 hours. He's my hero. I feel lazy just hanging out with him. So that's all we got for you tonight, friends. I am going to bounce on out of here. And I want to remind you that we should be back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we will also be debuting my interview with John McAfee this week. And we've got a couple extra surprises for you as well that we will finish before the end of the week. For those that may or may not have noticed, we've been producing more videos than ever recently. I decided to put my foot on the gas, work a little harder here, and it's been good so far. My concern was I didn't want to do too many videos and then the views just get spread out. So then you're working much, much harder, but you're not getting results. But so far, it's looked pretty good. So we will be back tomorrow night with another show for you, and some extra surprises, including my John McAfee interview. That will be coming out probably in the next couple of days. So that's all I got for you, friends. Until next time, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night, and God bless all of you.